love to invite one of you beloved guests to read our mission, vision, and values statement. And we'll throw that up on the screen for you. So easy access. Maybe shy folks today. That's understandable. I hear that. I'll start us off with the mission. We mobilize our community to challenge systemic causes of homelessness and advocate for housing justice.
I'll read the vision.
Please.
A region that acts on a shared sense of responsibility to ensure that everyone has a home.
Thank you.
Values, equity, justice, collective action.
Wonderful. Thank you. I appreciate both of you. We have a few updates that we wanted to dive into. I've mentioned this before, and I think we're getting a little closer to having agendas that really allow for a little bit more community program-wide, member-wide updates, but a couple big things right out of the bat is the coalition is recruiting new board of directors. So we will be throwing out that information. This is late breaking news. Just got some of this information last night, but we're asking folks to apply by April 1st. We've got some information sessions happening early next month, so March 10th. 6 p.m. and then we've got a Saturday, March 12th, 11 a.m. So trying to, spread the wealth around days of the week and times of day that might work for more folks. You can email board@homelessinfo.org, and then there's an online application form. So we'll get all that to you, have that information, but please share that with your networks. The other sort of timely announcement we wanted to make is the King County Jobs and Housing Program. And I'm not sure how familiar folks are with this. I can't tell by nods of heads or thumbs up or anything, but it's a newer program. It's funded by ARPA money, and it is a program that's really supporting people that are experiencing homelessness with jobs and housing support. So these are typically jobs with King County. Some of the programs or offices that they are working with are the Human Resources, Parks Department, Office of Equity, Animal Services, although those jobs are already filled, Fleets Vehicle Maintenance, and then the Office of Elections is actually hiring somewhere in the range of about 10 or so folks to help with signature verification. And they are having that hiring event on Thursday, the 24th. I think that's a Thursday. And so we didn't have enough time to bring somebody on to really give a full overview of this program, but we did want to make sure that you all had that information about this hiring event. So there is not a lot of criteria because all the different offices within King County have kind of different requirements for the job. The one that sort of kind of cuts across all is all King County employees have to be vaccinated with COVID-19. So if you're talking with your clients, your residents, that's something that you just want to put up front. Some of the jobs might require a background check, and then that agency then sort of determines, if anything comes up on that background check, whether or not that's acceptable for that job. Some might require some physical assessments like the parks job, and they can help connect folks to getting that physical assessment, keyboarding skills, limited tech stuff. So we'd like to invite this program to come and really talk with us a little bit more so you guys can ask a whole lot more questions and really have a good understanding of how to talk to your folks about this. But we didn't want to miss the opportunity to flag for the February 24th hiring for the King County Office of Elections signature verification program. Feel free to reach out to me if this is something that you want to learn a little bit more about, and I can connect you to Nancy Yamamoto, who's the program manager there. So just wanted to throw that out there. Allison, did you want to say anything else about board of directors at this point? I know, again, that was late breaking, so we can get more information.
It's not so much that it's late breaking. It's good that our board of directors got their materials together, but not quite in time for us to get them on the website yet. So pretty much every year, when there is there's a process of recruiting people to serve on the coalition's board of directors, and our May membership meeting is our annual membership meeting, and we'll want to involve all of you in planning for that. And one of the things that we do at our May annual meeting is our membership votes on a slate of candidates for the board. The way we do it, because of course not everybody can make it to the meetings, whether they're virtual or in person, is we have membership contacts at each member organization, and there's a week-long period of voting. The voting is electronic, and we'll be delighted to share more information with you. But this is a great opportunity to remind those of you who are here on behalf of your respective organizations that if you have not paid your 2022 membership dues to the coalition, we really are going to encourage you to do that before the end of the first quarter. And among the things that organizational members earn is the right to cast a vote, one per organization, in our board elections. So we look forward to sharing that information with you. It'll be up on the website shortly. I was actually just going to add something about the jobs program, Jody. This is one of the things that we helped to encourage, I would say, in terms of the use of these one-time federal relief funds. A lot of the things that King County proposed in terms of ARPA use were things that they brought to the coalition and to other stakeholders to sort of vet. And this one in particular was of really strong interest to us because it's an opportunity for people to get good paying county jobs with benefits. Many of them are either seasonal or temporary, but they are a way to get a foot in the door for county employment. And we're really excited to share that information with you all. And I think they're really excited to have the support to do it, because as with a lot of these things, the folks who are managing this particular project actually don't have a background in this type of work. So they need help from all of you to connect the eligible folks to these really important job opportunities. And they are countywide good jobs. And we really encourage you to, if you're working with people who are working or are interested in working, to pursue this as a really important and unusual opportunity. I think I'll say one other brief thing, if I may, while I'm unmuted, which is to recognize, thank you everybody for coming. Once again, thanks to those of you who've bravely turned your cameras on. We welcome everybody. We try to create a bit of a sense of the community that we have enjoyed for many, many years by meeting in person, even though we're meeting virtually. So feel welcome no matter what kind of hair day you're having. And feel free to introduce yourselves in the chat. This is really a space for building community, solidarity, collective power. And these meetings are open to the public. We often have folks who are members of the media who join, and we have a reporter, at least one reporter on the call today. So welcome to folks who are reporting on these important issues. I just wanted to ask that you please introduce yourself in the chat and agree that if somebody is speaking and you want to quote them, if they're not a member of the coalition staff or a presenter, that you get that person's permission before you quote them. Thank you so much. Back to you, Jody.
Thanks, Allison. And I appreciate you adding in that information about the King County Jobs and Housing Program. I had some more information in my notes that I wanted to share with you all that you've triggered for me. So thank you. As Allison said, they are what the county calls term limited, which is their temporary. Usually it's about a year. They do have benefits. They are working with folks to connect them to what the county calls career service, which is their permanent jobs. So they are working to get folks longer connection to jobs, not just temporary jobs. They had a cohort that came through. Their first cohort had about 20, and what I was told just a couple days ago was about half of those folks have gotten housing. The other half are still in the housing search process. And the program itself is trying to sort of expand its reach in terms of both referrals in, because I don't think they're getting as many referrals as they thought they might get. So I think, to Allison's point, we can step in and help them figure out how best to, better match or better talk about this program, questions that people have. They also help folks really overcome some of those barriers that someone might have around employment. So bus passes, metro passes, metro van pools for folks that had to be at the job site at like 6 or 6:30 in the morning, where buses aren't necessarily the easiest or most active. I asked specifically, like, if someone didn't have connection to a doc and needed, a physical they would help connect folks there. So they're really working to try to connect folks. They're not doing, from what I understood, some like intense case management. They're sort of passing through applicants and referrals on to sort of say, the Office of Elections, but they are really trying to understand the referrals that are coming in and how best to match folks to the jobs that are there, and working with their HR department. So thank you for adding that in, Allison. We were going to get an update on, not an update, but a little information and a little expanded understanding about Peer Kent. And as I was saying, this is a program that y'all may have heard of, at the South King County Forum, other community venues, really connected to the King County Library System. And so has Abigail Bardwell joined us? And if so, please take the floor. I'm not seeing in the participant
I don't
list.
see her. I'm going to just take a quick look and see if there is a phone number to reach out to her. And I think I might suggest just moving on, shifting the agenda up, and we'll figure it out.
I agree. Okay. Well, moving on then. We wanted to take a little bit of a moment to chat with you all about, again, topics that are of interest and of value for these general membership meetings. So not sort of trainings that we might hold outside of this, a longer training, these are shorter meetings. So really thinking about overviews of programs, introductions to programs or resources, what I'm starting to call mini trainings, where we might be able to give somebody even up to a half hour on the agenda to really come and talk with us. And really wanting to make sure, again, we want these general membership meetings and the information we present to be really timely and useful, and really some nugget of information that particularly those of you that are doing frontline direct service work can take back and either, share with your clients that might help you in your job or your role, just improve your depth of knowledge. So that's kind of what we're looking for. I am going to go out on a very brave technology limb for myself here, and I'm going to screen share a interactive survey. So let's see if this works, and if it doesn't, well then we'll try again. So let's see here.
And maybe while you're doing that, Jody,
Yeah.
because that is a technological limb that I don't want to be out on, I will just say, you know, we always have a mixture of folks in these meetings, people who've been coming and helping to shape the work that we do for years, people who are either new to the coalition or new in their respective roles. And what we try to do in our membership meetings, these third Thursday meetings, is a combination of information sharing, but information that is timely and that is going to help people experiencing homelessness and the folks who work with them in an immediate sense. We try to do systems overview conversations. We try to you know, invite public officials who need to be accountable to the people experiencing homelessness and the people who do the work to talk about key timely issues. And we also try to create some space where there's cross-fertilization. You're all working in a range of different environments for different populations. We have folks here who are not technically in the homeless services or housing world, but whose work is very strongly connected to this. And we're really interested in hearing some of the things that you're interested in getting out of these meetings. And the reason Jody is saying separate from training is because we're also planning trainings, and you will also have the opportunity to give input on those.
Thank you for that. Okay, I had to throw a few, I think I had to switch screens there. It's also very hard to do this with one screen. I have to say, for any of you that do this well with one screen or have tips, I am all ears. All right, are you seeing what topics are you interested in learning more about? And I know, oh good, I'm seeing this is working for some folks. I'm seeing things happening. And I know it's a little bit hard to see, so I will write out just in case some of this is too tiny for those of you. This was as big and as bold as I could get it. Sarah really helped me problem solve this, but tried to get some big bucket ideas. So information on mental health, right? So whether that's, you know, a better understanding of the crisis response system. You know, I think we can talk a little bit about suicidality, not in a full training, like I think probably some of us are used to, but more in a like, how do I get a little bit more comfortable with talking with suicide, understanding suicide, and then we can get, you know, we can then provide resources for deeper training around that. Seattle Times recently, I found this, and I will share this just because I thought it was really great. They did a wonderful article, and it was actually connected with youth specifically, but there were some very specific mental health resources and options for BIPOC folk and community. And so I'll share that. De-escalation, conflict resolution, and when we get into substance use, you know, we've got partners and member orgs that know harm reduction and drug user health, and you know, sort of what's really happening around people using various drugs and how to approach that. So really appreciate you all doing that. Housing, this is something I myself am still learning a little bit about. So, you know, I know the I know the health side of it like the back of my hand, and the housing side I'm still getting to learn. And then those bottom two were really, you know, again, wanting a sense of like, how much of this meeting should we be using for, you know, that community building, really understanding the programs that are in our community and how to refer to them, you know, a moment to connect with other case managers at other agencies. So if that's something that is of interest, but not in this venue, open to that, but seeing a lot of information there. So I'm going to go to the next screen, which is also because this is a quite limited choice. So you all seeing now, and hopefully you can free text, and we'll get maybe a word population here of what are other topics or ideas that you have for general membership meetings. And somebody holler if it's not working. I'm not seeing any words yet.
I think Sarah just put the actual link into the
Mm.
chat. So I think what will work best is if you just give people a minute or two and they can click on the Menti link, and you can always just put your comments in the chat if for some reason that link's not working. You know, we're interested in hearing from you. And again, we're still adapting to the virtual world, and there are some things that it's great to be able to do remotely, and there's some things that we're just trying to find the right way to replicate our previous process of having everybody move their chairs around into corners conversations.
This is true. This is great. Hygiene centers, legal services, the RHA. This is great. This is wonderful. Public benefits 101. Oh, you're talking our language.
Okay.
We are going to be developing a much longer training around public benefits, and we kind of have our 101 and our 201. But this is helpful because I think we can provide, particularly folks that don't do this work or are newer to this work, you know, or don't work around public benefits for folks, just a sense of like, what are they, you know, kind of that overview intro. Mental health, this is great. We're getting another for the RHA. Okay, clearly we need to make some connections there, and I think we are primed to do that. Resource sharing, this is great. Wonderful. Connections, wraparound services, benefits, Cliff. Okay, this is really trauma-informed care, really helpful information. And some of these are also things that, as Allison said, we are not talking about full trainings. We're talking about sort of nuggets of information. And so some of these things are on our list where we are going to be sending out training surveys. So really looking at fuller, you know, 1 or 2 hour trainings to really dive deep into some of, or at least deeper into some of these topics. Vehicle living supports. This is great. Well, keep them coming. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, but go ahead and keep them coming, because the other thing we really wanted to talk with folks about and I want to leave a little bit of time for us to just sit, just think, you know, take a moment or two within ourselves. But, you know, it was March of 2020 where our world really turned upside down. I mean, COVID was obviously present prior to March of 2020, and some of us on this call were engaging and dealing with COVID prior to March of 2020, but it was in March where Governor Inslee ordered that first statewide lockdown. And this is really where I think pretty much everybody's lives was touched and dramatically and significantly changed. We really feel like this is something that we want to acknowledge is the best word that feels most comfortable to me. I think there's other words that could be used, and I invite those words. But we want to acknowledge it in some way, and we want that acknowledgement to reflect what feels best to you all, or what you all might want to see. I have developed a survey, and we'll throw that link in. It's an anonymous survey. You can choose to add your name and agency if you so want, but it is also able to just you can just keep it confidential. I think not only do we want to make sure that we are acknowledging and marking this moment in a way that reflects you all, but if there's significant feedback of that doesn't feel right, I think we need to hear that too as well. So this isn't a foregone conclusion that this is happening in any particular way. So Allison, I don't know if there's anything you want to share. I'm going to find the link to the survey.
Sure. Thank you very much, Jody. I said to the folks who joined early that I'm joining from New York City, where I am seeing my elderly parents for, luckily for me, the second time in 2 long years. And we, of course, like you, are just thinking about different markers along the way. What I find myself having to share with others fairly frequently is, however disruptive the experience of living through a global pandemic has been for people who have homes and some stability in their lives, and it has been deeply disruptive, and nearly 1 million people in our country have died. We can't really begin to take stock of what this has meant until we reckon with what it means that we've left thousands and thousands of people outside to cope as best they can when pretty much everything else shut down, and considered that to be the best we could do. And at the same time, incredible work has been done and continues to be done, including by many of the people here on this virtual meeting, and by lots of people who are working right now and can't join us. So we want to pay respect to the experience. There are some things that have changed that honestly make us say that's the way it should have been all along. One example is that a lot, not all, but a lot of overnight only shelters transitioned to 24/7. And that is good and right, and as it should be. And it's a major transformation in our system that we should acknowledge. Also, that a lot of people's lives were saved by pretty rapid action and by shifting from congregate shelter settings to places where people got privacy, dignity, the ability to sleep and take a shower and organize their lives. Again, we're squarely in the field of we are never going back to it having been presumed to be acceptable for folks to be told, line up here, get in at 9 o'clock at night, here's your mat on the floor if you're lucky, and out at 5:30 a.m. Some of that still exists, but we're really seeing the opportunity to bake in things that should have been the norm in our system for a really long time. And there's a lot of trauma and grief and loss and wonderful people who are no longer doing this work. So those are just some of the things that we've been talking and thinking and hearing about. And, in our annual membership meetings and at various points along the way, we've worked with all of you to find opportunities to reflect, but it's hard to reflect when you're in the middle of a crisis, upon an emergency, upon decades of inadequate policies and resources. And yet I think reflection is really healing and important and necessary, and you all have so much wisdom and earned experience. So that's the idea behind this. And as Jody said, maybe what we'll do is, if folks say, it's all too much, just find some good music and let's just be together listening to music for 45 minutes, we will totally make that happen. Our goal is really to, continue to speak the truth within our own spaces and in other spaces. And you've got a lot of truth that we think is important to hear.
Thanks, Allison. So I think what I'd like to do is take the next couple minutes, just if there's anybody that wants to throw anything in the chat, come off mute, or if you just want to take this couple minutes to sit, think about this, do the survey, we threw it into the chat. That's what I'd like to do. See where folks are at.
Allison, did you guys say virtual or in person?
Virtual.
Virtual. Okay. Sorry, I missed that.
No, it's a great question, Anne. Very appropriate as times and things are shifting, particularly, different mandates and protocols are rolling back. We were thinking that this would be a part of our March general membership meeting. That is also something we're open to, though, as well. Like, do we need something separate? I think our thought was that we are trying to be mindful of all of the meetings, all of the time online, and where people are being pulled, and catching people where they tend to come. So, but we're open to all that.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, definitely.
As people are thinking or gathering thoughts or checking the link, and hopefully that's working for folks, please share that link out with your staff. We've all been impacted very differently by this, so we really want a range of responses as best we can. I know that's sometimes harder for frontline staff that may not be sitting in front of a computer and accessing their email. Always reach out to me as well. Like, if the survey isn't the thing that works for you, email me, call me, whatever works. So.
We also invite you to be creative. I was talking to somebody who said that they've made some art in response to what life has brought. We'd really love to engage in whatever form seems right. And I think we have some allies and friends of the coalition who are artists and performers, and we'd love to share whatever form of response. It doesn't have to be words, it could be photographs. I think there are a lot of ways to capture what this experience has been. And we're also really interested to gather stories from the folks whom you work with. We've got a wonderful person, Kayla Blau, who's here in the meeting today, who's doing some story collecting from people who receive services and people with lived experience with respect to some of our advocacy. And there's a great opportunity there, I think, for you to invite some of your clients, guests, and residents to, if they wish, share their thoughts as well.
Yeah, so take a look at the survey, think about it. We'll make sure that we can connect you to Kayla, reach out to me. We, in our shifting of our agenda, I'm going to move us along, but, continue to throw things in the chat, or like I said, reach out. Abigail was not able to join us, but Michael is here from Peer Kent. So Michael, thank you for being here. If you wouldn't mind just taking a few minutes to let us know a little bit about Peer Kent. We know that some of your colleagues have been on other community meetings with a lot of these service providers, and you've got a relationship with the King County Library, but my understanding is that it goes beyond that. So maybe a little bit of an overview and how best to connect folks on this call to you and your colleagues at Peer Kent. So Michael, please take the floor.
Thank you so much, Jody. Allison, excellent sentiment. Thank you for allowing me, and it's a privilege to be here as a representative of Peer Kent and a person with lived experience through substance use disorder. I'm a survivor of the war on drugs and mass incarceration through the early 90s and all the way through 2007, and I've remained clean and sober with a chance of going through the diversion court program when the whole idea shifted and the faces began to look different, and I somehow slid into the upstream of the new changes, and I'm grateful for that. So all was not lost. On the note about homelessness, Peer Washington is a peer-led, peer-run organization that is we're headquartered in downtown Seattle, but we have offices in Olympia, Spokane, Kent, and each one of our agency sites specializes in a different theme. I work at the Kent office, and that agency specializes in community contracts and community outreach that provides support to administrative constructs. Let's just be honest. So we have the King County Library System, Evergreen Treatment Services, and I am on the Justice Involved team that is in the felony court. We also have a Justice Involved team that is in the municipal court system through Federal Way, Des Moines, and I can't remember the other one. And that is just now getting off the ground. And so I've been with the drug court team, to the King County Superior Drug Diversion Court. I've been there for a year. Our Spokane office deals directly with the homeless and really dealing with housing insecurity, and FCS, so Foundational Community Supports, which is an important deal because they have the bandwidth in order to do that with less population, as it were. There's less of a volume of persons, and they can give some really great individual attention. We also have FCS and those foundational supports here at Kent as well. At every site, we have that. We have that at every site. And so Olympia deals directly with, that site deals directly with veterans, Indigenous persons, and overdose prevention is really their thing, and peer coaching, one-on-one peer supports. All of our sites and all of the staff at every one of our sites is trained in one-on-one peer coaching. They are CCAR certified, and every person is also a CPC at all of our sites. That is part of the deal. We are all also have a curriculum that is foundational in the fact that we do facilitator training, so because we provide groups at all of our sites. When we're talking about peer support, it doesn't matter that we're just here at the agency or we're online. The whole idea of peer support here at Peer Washington is that we provide a opportunity. We have core services, but our two main things that drive everything is groups and peer coaching, one-on-one. That's what drives us. The personnel that drives it, along with those programs and those platforms, is our volunteers and our interns. Without those, we don't really operate. The persons with lived experience, it doesn't do any good to promote a platform of peer lived experience and peer support and trauma informed, not just trauma aware. Trauma aware is when I stand on the side of the freeway looking at somebody in a burning car and I say, help over here. Trauma informed is when I throw a blanket over that joint and drag somebody out of there. That's trauma informed. There's a big difference, at least in my view, there's a big difference. So we're talking about trauma informed principles and trauma informed approaches. That's where we excel at. The Seattle site is really driven toward LGBTQ and certainly marginalized persons in that population. That's where they specialize because our staff reflects that. What else can I tell you? We provide opportunities for persons in the justice involved to do community service with us. So we're not, and that community service piece looks a lot like being an intern, so that they are not here doing traditional community service, emptying garbages, washing, cleaning out bathrooms. We do some of that too, but really they're engaging and taking some ownership in the very platform that they're going to use, right? Isn't that the idea? Why would I endorse a product that I don't use? Why would I submit somebody, and I'm the same way, I've been in recovery 6 years, and why would I use a resource that I'm not going to? Why would I promote a resource that I'm not using? It makes no sense. And so Pure Washington is growing. We have everybody in our staff is, and I like to think that I'm one of the persons that really kick this in the right directions. I have everybody in the real habit of creating relationships. Do not go on Zoom in this pandemic, doing this work and not make relationships. we all know that we all go on some of these trainings once in a while where you're not allowed to really go in the chat and retrieve information. We all know that, but do not come on Zoom or Teams or do any of those types of things without creating some sort of relationship. Because the more we think, because we live in this, and I share this all the time, because of the environment that we're in, it seems huge until we're not at work, or we're not around our colleagues, or we're not around our community partners, and we're not out promoting and receiving and allocating resources for those that are marginalized, right? That's when we get to see it is not that big. We're not that big a tribe, are we? We're not. Particularly when we're talking about helping people through support in the current climate of opiate use disorder, substance use disorder, stimulant use disorder, all abuse, all these types of things that we're talking about, codependency, any of the avenues of common trauma that we get to see on a daily basis. Because the reality is, when we're in this work now, you don't just you're not just on an EMS platform and get to see people coming on in and we have on white lab jackets. We're going into camps. We are gathering people to get them MAT. We are gathering people in order to get them clothing. We are frontline, we are front and center, and we get to see this thing exactly for what it's, we get to see the exact face value of what we are doing. And I say value, I don't think of that trauma as invaluable. I think that all persons that are living, you can have trauma, but what we do is we are all about addressing people living inside the current trauma. Current trauma is a little different than having healed from trauma. We can deal with that on a daily basis, but some people are not in a position to actually reach out and know how to ask for help yet, until we come through there and create an avenue of trust, compassion, empathy, lived experience, and also a message of hope while we're doing it, right? I put in the chat really quick before I sign off. I put in the chat, one of the things that I heard we're talking about resource sharing, and along with research sharing, the real hip thing right now, and you can go on the internet and find it, and they'll try to infiltrate with what we do on this screen. All the people on the screen, we know what they look like. The people that are preaching that DEI and this trauma-informed principles and what you can do to support, and we have to be vocal about the frauds that are in there that are causing just as much trauma as if you may as well just hand them. We believe in the premise. We understand the premise, but some people do not know how to deliver, and they're delivering unofficially, and they're delivering with harm. And so it is our job that if people are going to say harm reduction and they support people like that, you better we're going to make sure that they understand what harm reduction is.
That's such
not harm induction like some of these people are doing, but harm reduction, right?
Yeah.
And so I put in the chat, I put in.
Uh-oh. Michael, you just muted yourself as you were saying what you were putting
in the chat. I put agency resource bonfires are pertinent.
Yeah.
If you have a resource and you know of a resource that is trauma inducing, that is a numbers gatherer, that is somebody playing for grants, or et cetera, call them out, share it with the people that you are in these circles with. And we talk vocally about that. And hopefully one of those type of people that are doing that is listening. That's the kinds of things that we can do.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm so sorry to cut in there.
I'm all done. I just believe,
really
don't forget to make resource bonfires and call people to account. And so thank you so much, Allison. Jody, thank you so much for allowing me to share. And peerwashington.org, you are free to jump on there. I'm Michael at peerkent.org. Email me. I left my information in the chat. Thank you so much and have a great day.
It's wonderful. Thank you so much. I hope you'll stay on the rest of the meeting if you're able to, and really, really appreciate your joining and sharing. I also want to invite you to let folks know how they might connect in terms of any kind of referral process or criteria, so that people leave the meeting today not only knowing how to reach you and your colleagues, but getting an idea of who might be a good person to connect. And we really warmly welcome you to keep coming back, because it sounds like there's wonderful overlap and intersection. And I'm going to really hold on to your point about the fact that trauma in an interesting way holds value, and we need to learn from that. There's a process that's underway actually right now that we're going to bring you information about at the March meeting, to really hear from homeless service and housing providers about primary and secondary experiences of trauma in doing this work. And that process is launching. We're going to send information about how you can indicate your desire to participate in what's going to be probably a 9-month-long process across the state. The reason that that process is happening is because of our legislative advocacy last legislative session, when we worked with State Representative Nicole Macri to fund an information gathering exercise that is going to hear your voices from frontline staff, program staff, agency folks about the ways in which systems are set up, and what it means to be informed by the trauma that that people experience on a daily and nightly basis, as well as particular incidents and violent episodes. So we are going to transition with that to some of our legislative advocacy this session. Those of you who've been coming to meetings know that this is an incredible, fast 60-day session. I think we have 20 days left, if I'm doing the math right. That is not a lot of time, and boy, have we come a long way. And Sarah is going to share really exciting and important information and opportunities for you to take action right now, today, here in this meeting, as well as to bring this back to your peers, staff, residents, clients. Jody and I are going to put things in the chat for you. If you have any questions, please put those in, because we don't want to presume that people know what it means to sign in on a bill, but Sarah's going to explain it all to you. And boy, do we have progress to share.
Good morning, everybody. Sarah Robbins. I'm the Senior Manager of Policy here at the Coalition. And we are, I don't know, 3/4 of the way through this very fast moving session. And we've been talking to all of you since the beginning of session about a bill that the Coalition initiated with Representative Strom Peterson on the reopening of the DSHS offices. So, you know, all of you know that DSHS offices closed. They're physically closed the doors on March 12th, 2020 due to the pandemic. And the until November, when they opened in a very limited capacity, have remained closed. And due to increases in the need for benefits and the offices being closed has put an enormous strain on the statewide call center for DSHS. And wait times are untenable. I mean, the wait times can be an hour on a good day. And I heard yesterday, someone that called multiple times, and every time was told that it was an 8-hour wait. So we introduced a bill that would reopen the offices even in a public emergency, and address those call center wait times. As the session has moved on, the bill has gone through some amendments. but it still requires that the offices reopen. So it passed here's where it is in the session. It started in the House, and so it has gone through and passed through the House this week with a vote of 97-1. And now it is moving, yeah, which was great. It now moves into the Senate. It's being heard in the Policy Committee tomorrow. My days, oh yes, tomorrow. The Human Services Committee tomorrow morning. And when it passes out of there, it will go to the Senate Fiscal Committee, which is the Ways and Means Committee. And hopefully it will, hopefully it will come out of the Senate. So what we're asking for an action is for the Policy Committee tomorrow. You have the ability as a citizen of the state of Washington to give your position on bills that are in the legislature. And in this case, we are asking that people sign in pro, which means you support the bill. That goes in the public record of the, in this case, the Human Services Committee, and shows how many people, support DSHS offices being open and accessible to people. So I think the link, looks like that link is in the chat to sign in pro. And you, even though it has you, it has you put in your full address, you don't have to put in your full address. You can put in your city and zip code if you don't want your full address, because this does become part of the official public record. So if you'd rather just limit the amount of information, that's also okay. I will be testifying tomorrow along with a few other advocates on this bill, on the importance of DSHS reopening. Another bill that we are supporting that has a hearing today is Senate Bill 5729. And this is a bill that, so before doing policy work here at the Coalition, I was a public benefits attorney. So I did helped people get state public benefits through DSHS and the Healthcare Authority. And one of the things that, and this is, kind of in the weeds, but it's really an important issue. When someone is denied benefits from Healthcare Authority or DSHS, you have 90 days to request a hearing. If you cannot request a hearing in those 90 days, there is currently no good cause exception to request a hearing late. And as an attorney, I all the time saw people that couldn't, for various reasons, could not request a hearing within those 90 days. Someone is homeless, they don't get their mail on a regular basis, domestic violence, someone is in the hospital, so many different reasons. And this bill 5729 would allow an administrative law judge to make a decision that says, yes, you had good cause for requesting a hearing late, and you still get your administrative hearing on the denial, termination, or an overpayment of public benefits. So really, it's this is about due process and somebody getting their right to challenge an adverse decision. So that is a bill that's being heard today in the House Human Services Committee. Allison just dropped the link in the chat to sign in pro on that. And it's, it's not something that I think people know a lot about, but it really, when it comes up, it can be a very difficult, it can be very difficult for people. especially if in the realm of overpayments, where you're then sort of just stuck with an overpayment to the state. So those are the two bills this week that we are focusing on. The Washington Low Income Housing Alliance, which is a strong partner with us in housing for the state. They have a number of bills that they are encouraging folks to take action on to sign in pro. I think we have the link. Yeah, we're copying and pasting from their action alert this week on a number of bills. A bill 5749, which would require landlords to take payments other than online payments. When I listened to the testimony on that particular bill, it was horrifying to hear a lot of these online systems also charge you to use them. So not only am I going to pay my rent online, I'm also going to pay you a fee. Like rents aren't high enough in the state. 5793, which allows state agencies to pay stipends for impacted people to sit on boards and commissions. 1755, which is a technical fix for TANF. This was a bill that passed last session around when unemployment is high, that people can still get a extension, the 60-month time limit extension. So yeah, lots of, we're getting closer and closer to the end of session. And it's important to get these bills that the ones that, are still going through session, to get them through to the end. And I'm happy to answer questions either about the bills we talked about or the process in general, if anyone has any particular questions.
I'd like to just try an experiment here. Could you either come off camera and raise your hand, or use the little emoji to raise your hand if you would like to take action, but you're not exactly sure how? Thank you, Karina. Yes. Thank you, Maggie. I'm guessing there might be some other people. Yaniv, Phoebe, Anne. Okay. Fantastic. I mean, not fantastic, but we hear you. And that is why we want to support you to understand enough to use your voices and your experience and your internet connection to speak up. Our job is to make it easy for you. You heard Sarah run through just a few bills, and they're all incredibly important. And these are the bills that are still alive. We didn't even talk about some of the really critical bills that didn't make it past cutoff. Sarah is extremely experienced and knowledgeable. And, great, we're gonna get to your question, Nicholas. And Jody introduced herself in our first Take Action Tuesday by saying that she has never actually taken action. She was not, I hope it's okay if I say this, Jody, not entirely sure who her lawmakers were. So we have this full spectrum here at the Coalition, and you all are part of that full spectrum. I'm going to ask somebody to put the link to register for our Take Action Tuesdays into the chat. Even if you're not able to join on a Tuesday between 1 and 1:45, I invite you to register, because we will give you quick ways to take action, and we will answer any questions you have. And there is no such thing as a rookie or dumb question. Democracy, in order for it to be of the people, by the people, and for the people, needs to be accessible. And one of the things that is good about being online all the time is that there are ways in which it's more accessible. And one of the ways that it's terrible is that there are ways in which it's less accessible. And things that you might have maybe learned in 8th grade in government or civics class might be misty in your mind. And that is okay. It is not an excuse for you not to take action, because everybody who's been able to sign up to join our meeting here today has the privilege and the access to join. And our value of collective action that we listed at the beginning of this meeting is manifested in our ability to get over 100 people to sign in pro on a bill that almost didn't get introduced in less than 24 hours. That's what you all have helped us do already this session. That DSHS access bill, which is one piece of our advocacy to get access to the client services offices and to draw down the call center wait times, is possible because you're engaged and following and taking action. And our job is to make it easy for you. So I see Jody has a hand up, and I saw a really important question from Nicholas in the chat, and we welcome, thank you, Karina. We welcome everybody to join the meetings. That the idea is it's drop-in. If you only have 15 minutes to join us on a Tuesday, midday, that's cool. We will give you information. You can ask a question and be on your way. And we're going to keep doing that after session in a somewhat different format. So let me ask Nicholas, if you want to ask your question, and you and Sarah can talk about that super important issue of raising the cash grant, and then Jody.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer that. So the question in the chat is an increase to the ABD, so age, blind, or disabled cash grant, which is currently $197 to $417 per month, to bring it up in parity to a one-person TANF grant. So this is actually something that DSHS has included and is requesting as part of their budget. And it's actually, as opposed to being a bill, with a bill number and going through the committees and each of the houses, that is being proposed as an increase to the budget. So we will be getting operating budgets coming out in the next few days. And that will hopefully be part of super important. We all know that $197 is not enough for someone to live on. And so we are optimistic, especially because it's something that the department is proposing, that will be part of the budget. And when all of that information starts to come out, we will include information in our communications about that. And when budget advocacy starts, how you can take action on the budget. And Jody, did you have a question before I introduce our next speaker?
I can hold it. It's an underscore of what we're talking about. So let's invite our special guests.
Great. So we are joined today by the new Secretary of DSHS, Hilma Meneses. Secretary Meneses was appointed by Governor Inslee at the beginning of this year and has been on the job for, she can correct me, but I think a little over a month. And we are so happy that she came today. I want to give a little bit of context about, I was talking about the our bill 2075 to reopen DSHS offices. At the same time that we've been working on that bill, we have also, myself and a group of advocates, has also been meeting with Secretary Meneses and a number of her staff at DSHS to talk about what it would take to get the offices reopened and get the call center wait times down, and all of the, and various ideas that we have and they have to make DSHS more accessible to people, more than it's been over the last couple of years. And so we've had a number of meetings over the last couple of months, but over the last couple of weeks, we've had even more, where I think we are really making progress, and DSHS is moving towards reopening the offices. And Secretary Meneses was gracious enough to join us today to give us a little bit about her and her vision for the department going forward. We're also joined by Lori Finkst, who is also a senior director at DSHS that works with the Poverty Reduction Task Force and Steering Committee, and can answer some DSHS questions too. But I will turn it over to Secretary Meneses.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you for that lovely introduction. And first of all, I apologize for this setting that I'm in. We've had major difficulties. I'm at Eastern State Hospital, and we've had major difficulties with my computer. So I'm joining you from a large room, and the camera's far away, so I'm not close hand, but at least you can hear me. And anyhow, thank you for inviting me here today. That's number one. Number two, I hope it's not the last time. Okay. And number three, Allison and Sarah, you've stated so well our recent work and our recent conversations about collaborating on making our services accessible to Washingtonians. I so much appreciate that. And when I learned a few weeks ago about the tragedy that we've been that our Washingtonians have been facing, meaning not having access to very well-deserved services, it really caused me concern. And I said, of course, we have to reopen these offices. And I question why we even closed them to begin with, because these are frontline services that should have never been closed. But obviously I can't cry over what happened before, I wasn't here, etc. So we can make impact now. And regardless of the bill, I know the bill passed the House and it's going to the Senate, I believe, tomorrow. But regardless of the bill, we are reopening, and the target date, as I understand it, is February 28th. They're already starting the work. They're meeting, we have a project managers meeting every day to make sure it happens smoothly. Having said that, reopening is not going to solve everything. We recognize that there are a lot of hurdles that need to be broken down, right? There are a lot of process improvements that need to be made. There's a lot of technology that needs to be upgraded. I get that. And so I told my colleagues at DSHS and at the legislature that we have to make technology improvements, modernization a priority, not just for this particular department, okay, but throughout, particularly as it relates to services for our clients, our Washingtonians experience in poverty or about to experience homelessness. And I learned of a situation where a 23-year-old who's in charge of his 17-year-old, I don't know the logistics of why that guardianship, but nonetheless, they were going to be evicted, and they were calling for services for help, and there was not an answer. And so there we go. There are two young men now going on to an encampment. That is inappropriate. It's terrible. It's horrible. That is not what we are about. We have to do better as a state, as individuals, and here as a coalition. You know, I need your feedback, because I'm not, and thank you for giving it to me a few weeks ago when we started. I wouldn't know what's actually happening unless I hear from you. So your voices are incredibly important in order to make change. I completely agree with Allison. Your advocacy is critical, and it's going to be critical going forward immensely, especially as Lori Finks and team make the poverty reduction vision a reality, right? There's a lot to do. I know that the governor wants us to address how we're going to help folks in the encampments, for example. That has to be done very carefully with your assistance. With your assistance, you know, and we're not going to go and sweep these camps. No, 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 no. That would be tragic. But we also have to offer solutions for brothers and sisters out there, and wraparound services, and we have to treat the whole person. And no, we're not going to just go into an encampment and assume that somebody's going to come with us to a shelter immediately. We have to build trust with them. We have to tell, you know, show them that we're not law enforcement here. We're their partners, and hopefully they're loving partners and people who care. Anyway, so my vision, you know, my vision is really to work with you all and reducing poverty in this state and making services accessible. Whether it's through modernized technology or on-demand services, or it may be at respective facilities that can house some caseworkers that are not part of the state. Let me give you an example, and I give this example a lot because it's relevant to what I'm envisioning. I don't know how many of you that were here in Washington, let's say in the early 90s or the late 80s, okay, or even mid 90s, but some of you maybe were in other places or so forth. But anyhow, it used to be, okay, that when you needed a new driver's license or new tags with Department of Motor Vehicles, right, that you would go to the Department of Motor Vehicles and you would take a number and you would wait there and wait there and wait there, sometimes for an hour, sometimes for 2 hours, until you finally got called, right? And then they would take another month or two to send you your driver's license. They sometimes wouldn't give it to you right on the spot, okay? You couldn't do anything online. You couldn't request your tags online. Fast forward. Oh, and in California right now, it's sort of still that way. In order for you to renew your tags, you got to go to a DMV office, or to get new tags, you got to go to a DMV office and stand in line. And sometimes those lines are out the door for a mile before you can get in. And even California, which is a very innovative state with many technologies and so on, that's Department of Motor Vehicles. Okay. Fast forward in the state of Washington, they brought the right technology, and now you all know you can renew your tags online, right? You can renew your driver's license. You don't even have to go into an office. However, if you don't have access to technology or don't want to use technology, you don't only have to go to a DMV offices, you can go to a satellite office. Those are contractors that actually process your paperwork for tags or driver's license. Well, that's sort of what I'm talking about for these services at DSHS for our clients. So my hope is that they not only have various platforms to access the services, maybe a DSHS office, maybe a satellite office where we contract with one of you or some other providers, right? And certainly technology and phones. It has to be mobile ready, mobile friendly. And just because you have access to a platform that interfaces in the internet doesn't mean it's mobile friendly. So the technology has to be appropriate. My goodness, if we're doing that for the Department of Motor Vehicles, why wouldn't we do it here at DSHS for very needed services for our humans to eat and sleep and be sheltered and so forth, right? Anyway, so my vision is really to work alongside with you and the legislature. It has to be a community effort. DSHS alone can't do it. The staff alone can't do it. They need your voice. They need your ideas. So thank you for bringing ideas. And some can be realized, the recommendations. Some are great and they can be realized. Some maybe not, but you have to put them on the table to see which ones can. And that's what you're doing. Some of you are doing with our staff right now, and hopefully will continue. And the legislature, they have to make the right investments. Right? Yeah. They absolutely have to. And I understand that there's been some legislatures have been shy in the past about investing in technology. I don't know why. If we invest in everything else, I have no idea. Who goes to a travel agency across the town these days to buy an airline ticket? Nobody. You do it on your phone or your computer, right? So similarly, we have to get technology up to speed, up to age in all these services. And
you.
access again in other ways for people who don't have technology or have disabilities or whatnot, right? So thank you for
so
having me.
much. We really, really appreciate your making time to join us. We know that you are, you have jumped in at the deep end in your large and important and complex department. And we recognize that, in fact, as someone said to me, it is possible that you may be the secretary who is paying more attention to the Economic Services Administration than any previous DSHS secretary already, even in the short time that you have held this position. So I want to just, really thank you. We will welcome you back at any time, and also recognize that there is a lot of pent up frustration probably within your agency and certainly in the community about the many things that can and must be improved. And we want to make sure that our members are connecting to give us their input and to join some of the conversations that you've been really welcoming and clear in directing your staff to engage in. We're looking forward to having conversations not only about opening the CSOs, but also about these other ways of ensuring that access is real and doesn't presume a level of internet service that many people whom we're concerned about don't have. I wanted to just pause for a moment, first of all, to just see if people would like to ask any questions or make any comments in the chat. We know that time is short and we probably won't have time for all of them, but I think it could be interesting for you and for Lori Finks, as well as for us, to hear what kinds of things people might want to add to the topic list for DSHS conversations. I also want to note, while we have you with us, that one of the bills that Sarah and I wanted to flag for our members is Senate Bill 5662, which I think you were referencing, about the proposal to create a new division within DSHS that would coordinate state agency responses to people who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness on state right-of-ways. We have grave concerns about that bill. We have brought those concerns forward to lawmakers and have been very disappointed to find that the suggested language and proposed amendments have not thus far made it into the bill. So we're eager, to do what we need to work with folks in the House and continue to have a conversation with you, Secretary Meneses, about the ways in which we have learned that it is not enough to believe people who say, trust us, this isn't about sweeps. We have to ensure that that bill language specifically references the actual terms under which people will be asked to move and the processes that will help those folks get housing and services that are needed. And I really look forward to the opportunity to be in partnership with you on that, since I can tell you don't want to be in charge of a division of people that is actually doing an expensive coordination of sweeping people.
Thank you, Allison. And regardless of what the bill how it ends up reading, again, maybe they'll incorporate the language that you want. Maybe they ultimately won't. Regardless of how it reads, we will come back together and establish those protocols. Our staff and you will come back together. Okay, regardless of what the bill says. We will treat people with dignity. If the unsheltered community is no less than, they're human beings like the rest of us, and they need to be treated with dignity. And that's how we will do it together.
Thank you. I think I hear and appreciate that, and we're in agreement about that. However, I will say we need to see the language in the bill, or we will not support it. So we'll have our work cut out for us.
Here's you. So keep on talking.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. We're going to really look forward to our continued conversations. I also want to note something that perhaps we as advocates can say that staff at DSHS may not be able to, but I think it's sort of an open secret in this state that the State Department of Social and Human Services has not been adequately funded to do the work that it is charged with doing. And that is painfully evident and unacceptable, just as it's unacceptable for homeless service organizations and housing providers to have been starved of resources and asked to solve homelessness without housing. And we're done with not saying those things out loud. I know we have so much more to talk about. We look forward to working with you to schedule maybe even an open forum conversation that's on a day that's not our meeting, so that people can get to know you a little bit more, because you come from a service background, and I think folks will be really interested to have a conversation with you and to build in more time. But we're so grateful that you made time on this short notice to join us today, and deeply appreciate the work that you're doing to reopen those offices.
Thank you, Allison.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I might just step out unless there are other questions from your colleagues.
I think we're about to draw our meeting to a close, actually, but we will be sure to follow up with you and with Lori, and I'll turn things back to Sarah and Jody for our last few moments here. Thank you very, very much.
Well, thanks, folks. We are at a close. Michael, I see your hand. If it's a very brief comment, I think we have time for it.
Yeah, it's just a brief comment that in the midst of all this, whether it's a pro or con, we don't get to describe how we want people to be homeless. You can be homeless this way, just not quite this way. And I think that that can happen whether we are in favor or not in favor of this whole sphere of how we're addressing housing insecurity. I just thought I would throw that out there. So let's not put parameters on how people are to be homeless or not. That's all.
Thanks, Michael. Sarah, was there any final advocacy legislative info? No, shaking your head. Well, folks, I really
thanking the secretary for being here. Appreciate it.
Yes. Yeah, really, really special guest to have here with us and hear firsthand, especially because so many of you on the call have been working alongside the coalition and Secretary Meneses and DSHS offices and department to fix this, right? You know, and as Allison likes to say, we got to be working on multiple fronts to make the change that we need to have that really is going to help folks. Thank you everyone for being here today. Feel free to reach out at any point if you've got questions, you've got concerns, if you need more about what has come up today. We will reconvene next month, and information on this meeting and the recording will go up in the next couple of days. Have a lovely and wonderful rest of your Thursday. Thanks, folks.